It's thank God that I got it too, but it's in my DNA. I don't ever remember waking up one day and going, "Oh, that's how all this got here."
She was there before the fame, through the struggles, and long after the spotlight faded. Now, Tricia Lucus reveals the truth about her love for Toby Keith, and it's nothing like we imagined. Join us as we unravel Tricia Lucus's confessions. Tricia's speech. Standing next to her son, Stellan Kovville, Tricia started her speech under the bright lights, expressing her uncertainty about finishing her prepared words. Stellan, who has taken on the role of the family spokesperson since Toby's battle with cancer concluded, was ready to step in if necessary. However, Tricia spoke with poise and determination, delivering her speech for an impressive 16 minutes. Her voice wavered only towards the end, but her message struck a chord with everyone present. "There will never be another Toby Keith," she stated, reminiscing about the special way her husband made everyone feel like they were his best friend. Tricia explained how, even now, people she doesn't know come up to her, recognize her as Toby's wife, and share how much they miss him. The speech showcased Toby's zest for life and his love for country music. Tricia recounted tales of his courage, boldness, and patriotism. He didn't care what anyone thought. He was a true patriot. He adored his country, she said, her voice strong and filled with pride. She highlighted how Toby embraced life fully, without regrets, and loved deeply, whether it was for his family, his music, or his nation. On October 20, 2024, fans of country music and industry icons came together to celebrate Toby Keith's induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Yet it was his wife, Tricia Kovville, who truly captivated everyone with a heartfelt and moving speech that left the crowd both humbled and inspired. As she took the stage for her very first public address, Tricia's remarks honored the legacy and essence of her late husband, whose influence on country music and American culture will resonate for many years to come. Tricia also talked about Toby's impact beyond just his music career. She mentioned the OK Kids Corral, a home in Oklahoma for kids fighting cancer that Keith started years ago. It really showed his kindness and the impression he made on the world. His music, his kindness, and his humanity will last longer than us, and even our kids and their kids, she said, emphasizing the lasting effect he had on so many lives. The ceremony was filled with emotional musical tributes from some of the biggest stars in country music. Post Malone kicked off the night with "I'm Just Talking About Tonight," followed by Eric Church's version of "Don't Let the Old Man In." Blake Shelton's performance of "I Love This Bar" had everyone thinking back to Toby's classic hits. The emotional evening ended with Alabama's Randy Owen, who officially welcomed Keith into the Hall of Fame, sharing stories about their friendship and the struggles they faced together. Joining Toby Keith in the Country Music Hall of Fame class of 2024 were John Anderson, the Veterans Era inductee, and James Burton in the recording and/or touring musician category. The night was packed with unforgettable performances from artists like Lucinda Williams, Brad Paisley, and even Keith Richards, who honored the inductees. Tricia's speech reminded everyone of the legacy Keith leaves behind, a legacy filled with music, love, and unwavering strength. For Toby Keith fans, this induction was a moment to celebrate the artist who contributed so much to country music and beyond. It was a night full of music, memories, and a strong message of love from the woman who knew him best. Tricia's bravery and sincere words are sure to be remembered as a key moment in the history of the Country Music Hall of Fame, as she perfectly expressed the spirit of the man she loved and the legacy he created. But behind the heartfelt tribute was a love story that started long before the fame and the spotlight. Tricia wasn't just Toby Keith's wife. She was his anchor, his first love, and the woman who stood by him through every triumph and every trial. Who is Tricia Lucus? Let's find out. Tricia Lucus. Toby Keith and Tricia Lucus were together for nearly 40 years until the country singer passed away in February 2024. Toby Keith and Tricia Lucus attended the 53rd. The artist, known for "I Love This Bar," met Lucus shortly after graduating high school. At that time, he worked in the oil fields and performed at bars in the evenings. They were in a relationship for 3 years, got married in 1984, and had 2 children. Sadly, Keith, who was diagnosed with stomach cancer in the fall of 2021, died on February 2024. He was 62 years old. Toby Keith passed away peacefully on February 5th, surrounded by his family, a statement from the family of the Red Solo Cup singer mentioned. He faced his battle with grace and courage. After graduating high school in 1979, Keith began working in the oil fields just like his father, doing typical roughneck stuff and earning $50,000 a year. Keith also sang and performed at local bars with his band, the Easy Money Band, which played Alabama-style country rock when he wasn't working. It was during this time that he met Lucus, who was a secretary for an oil company back then. In 2001, she mentioned that she was 19 and he was 20. He was one of those larger-than-life individuals, brimming with confidence. The couple was in a relationship for 3 years before they chose to marry in 1984. Keith marked the couple's 39th wedding anniversary on Instagram in 2023, posting an old picture of them to celebrate the occasion. Lucus is a mother to 3 kids. She welcomed her first daughter, Shelley Kovville Rowland, in 1980 prior to meeting Keith. After their marriage, Keith adopted Shelley and they later had 2 more children, daughter Crystal in 1985 and son Steelen in 1997. Crystal is a musician and recording artist just like her father. She is married to her husband Drew, and they have 2 daughters named Kirby and Hensley. On the other hand, Stellan is an entrepreneur, involved in various businesses such as Sellout Crowd, 405 Burger Bar, Tequila Chulos, and Hollywood Corners. He is married to his wife Haley, who works as a travel advisor, and they have a Siberian Husky named Dodger. The family rallied around Keith as he received the BMI Icon Award in November 2022, with Stellan posting a behind-the-scenes video on Instagram of their celebration together. She was there for Keith's career from the start. Keith mentioned that when the oil fields went bust, I started focusing on my music. He and his band began to play regional gigs full-time, while he and Trisha managed creditors and raised their family. Many people told Trisha, "You should tell your husband to get a real job," Keith shared. She found Keith to be charming. "Most people believe he is the most romantic guy in the world," she said. "He has his charming moments." She was there for Keith during many award shows. Lucus supported Keith at numerous award shows and honor events throughout the years. In September 2023, just under 6 months before Keith passed away, Lucus went to the People's Choice Country Awards with her husband, where he received the Country Music Icon Award. Keith's heartfelt speech moved Lucus to tears as he expressed gratitude to his family and the Almighty for allowing me to be here tonight. "You've been riding shotgun with me for a little while." During their leisure time, the couple loved playing golf, even though Keith confessed they weren't the greatest at it. Besides playing, they also enjoyed watching golf matches. One of Lucas's passions is supporting children's cancer initiatives. In 2019, she and Keith were recognized by the University of Oklahoma College of Medicine Alumni Association for their contributions to the Children's Hospital and the OK Kids Corral, a lodging facility established in 2014 by the Toby Keith Foundation for families with children undergoing cancer treatment, as reported by the Oklahoman. Keith and Lucas founded the Toby Keith Foundation in 2006 with the goal of assisting children and their families affected by cancer. In a 2014 interview, Keith described the OK Kids Corral as a blend of a Ritz-Carlton and Disney. Lucas remarked, "One of the best things is when you go and see a smile on their face because they're not in a hospital room." But who was Toby Keith behind closed doors? The country icon, the rebel, the husband, and the man Trisha loved for decades. Let's take a closer look at the life that made him a legend and the pain that followed him off stage. Toby Keith. Toby Keith Kovville was born on July 8, 1961 in Clinton, Oklahoma, to Carolyn Joan and Hubert K. Kovville Jr. He had both a sister and a brother. The family spent a few years in Fort Smith, Arkansas, while Keith was in elementary school, but they later moved to Moore, Oklahoma, which is a suburb of Oklahoma City, when he was still quite young. Before relocating to Moore, he would visit his grandmother in Fort Smith during the summer months. His grandmother owned Billy Garner's Supper Club in Fort Smith, where Keith developed an interest in the musicians who performed there. He took on various odd jobs at the supper club and began to get up on stage to play with the band. He received his first guitar when he was just 8 years old. After moving to Moore, Keith went to Southgate Elementary, Highland West Junior High, and Moore High School, where he played as a defensive end on the football team. Keith graduated from Moore High School and then worked as a derrick hand in the oil fields, eventually rising to the position of supervisor. At the age of 20, he and his friends started the Easy Money Band, which played at local bars and roadhouses while he continued his job in the oil industry. Sometimes he had to leave a concert in the middle if he got called to work in the oil field. In 1982, the oil industry in Oklahoma started to decline rapidly, and Keith soon found himself out of work. He relied on his football training and tried out for the professional Oklahoma Outlaws. When he didn't make the team, he joined their unofficial semi-pro farm club, the Oklahoma City Drillers, where he played defensive end while still performing with his band. He then decided to refocus on music. The Easy Money Band began to play the honky-tonk circuit in Oklahoma and Texas. Keith traveled to Nashville, Tennessee, where he played music on the streets of Music Row without success, until producer Harold Shedd decided to sign him with Mercury Records after a flight attendant, who was a fan of Keith's, handed over a copy of his demo tape. Keith's first single, Should Have Been a Cowboy, hit #1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot Country Songs chart in 1993, and it also made it to number 93 on the Billboard Hot 100. This track was the lead song on his self-titled debut album. The album was certified platinum by the Recording Industry Association of America, RIAA, for selling 1 million copies, and it produced 3 additional top 5 hits on the country charts. Keith then signed with Polydor Records Nashville and dropped his second album, Boomtown, in September 1994. This album, which was also certified platinum, kicked off with the hit single Who's That Man? Following that, both Upstairs Downtown and You Ain't Much Fun made it into the top 10, while Big Old Truck reached number 15. By late 1995, he put out his first Christmas album, Christmas to Christmas, through Mercury. This album was made up entirely of original songs and featured one chart entry, Santa I'm Right Here, which climbed to number 50 based on Christmas airplay. Keith then signed with the short-lived Nashville division of A&M Records to release his third album, Blue Moon, in April 1996. That album also received a platinum certification and produced 3 singles. The first single, Does That Blue Moon Ever Shine on You, which Keith wrote back in 1987, peaked at number 2. After a corporate merger, Keith returned to Mercury in 1997. His fourth studio album, Dream Walkin', was also the first one produced by James Stroud, who would continue to co-produce with Keith until 2005. This album produced 2 consecutive number 2 hits with We Were in Love and a cover of Sting's 1996 single, I'm So Happy I Can't Stop Crying. Sting also contributed duet vocals and played bass guitar on the track, and the two performed the song together at the 1997 Country Music Association Awards. Following this, the album's title track reached number 5, while Double Wide Paradise peaked at number 40. Keith's final release with Mercury was Greatest Hits Volume 1, which came out in October 1998. In 1999, Keith signed with DreamWorks Records' Nashville division, where Stroud was the president. His first release under this label was When Love Fades, which also did not make it into the top 40. Steve Huey mentioned that this album had a rough, brash attitude that helped give Keith a stronger identity as a performer. In 2001, Keith received the Academy of Country Music's Top Male Vocalist and Album of the Year awards. After this album, Pull My Chain was released in August 2001. The 3 singles from the album, I'm Just Talking About Tonight, I Want to Talk About Me, and My List, all reached number 1 on the country charts, with the last 2 holding that spot for 5 weeks. I Want to Talk About Me, which was written by Bobby Braddock, also showed a country rap influence with its spoken word style. The Country Music Association awarded My List as Single of the Year in 2002. Regarding Pull My Chain, Erlewine stated that this is a bigger, better record than its predecessor, possessing a richer musicality and a more confident sense of humor. In 2002, he released the Unleashed album, which featured 4 singles. The first was courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, The Angry American, which Keith wrote in just 20 minutes as a reaction to the September 11, 2001 attacks. Shock and Y'all, his 8th studio album, came out in November 2003. The title of the album is a play on the military phrase shock and awe. It became his second album where every single hit #1. I Love This Bar, American Soldier, and Whiskey Girl. The album also featured 2 live tracks, the Taliban song and Weed with Willie, which were recorded with Emmerich. Later in 2004, he released Greatest Hits 2, which had 3 new songs, Stays in Mexico, Go With Her, and a duet cover of Inez and Charlie Fox's Mockingbird with his daughter Crystal Keith. Keith's last album with DreamWorks was Honky Tonk University, released in early 2005. The first single, Honky Tonk You, reached #8, followed by As Good As I Once Was, which stayed at #1 for 6 weeks, and Big Blue Note that peaked at #5. After this release, DreamWorks Records shut down. In 1999, Keith joined the Nashville division of DreamWorks Records, where Stroud was the president. His debut release for the label was When Love Fades, which unfortunately did not reach the top 40. After noticing the single's lackluster performance, Keith asked for it to be pulled and replaced with How Do You Like Me Now?, a song he co-wrote with Chuck Cannon that had been previously rejected by Mercury, 18. This song also became the title track of his first DreamWorks album, How Do You Like Me Now? It topped the country charts for 5 weeks and marked his first entry into the top 40 of pop music, peaking at #31 on the Hot 100. In 2001, Keith received the Academy of Country Music's Top Male Vocalist and Album of the Year awards. After the album, Pull My Chain was released in August 2001. The 3 singles from the album, I'm Just Talking About Tonight, I Want to Talk About Me, and My List, all reached #1 on the country charts, with the latter 2 holding that position for 5 weeks each. I Want to Talk About Me, written by Bobby Braddock, also showcased a country rap influence with its spoken word style lyrics. The Country Music Association awarded My List as Single of the Year in 2002. In 2002, he put out the Unleashed album that featured 4 singles. The first one was courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, The Angry American, which Keith wrote in just 20 minutes as a reaction to the September 11, 2001 attacks. This song mentions Keith's father, a U.S. Army veteran who tragically passed away that March in a car accident. Both this track and Who's Your Daddy hit #1, while Rock You Baby reached #13. Shockin' Y'all, his 8th studio album, came out in November 2003. The title is a play on the military phrase shock and awe. It became his second album where all singles reached #1. I Love This Bar, American Soldier, and Whiskey Girl. The album also included 2 live tracks, the Taliban song and Weed with Willie, recorded with Emmerich. Later in 2004, he released Greatest Hits 2, which featured 3 new songs, Stays in Mexico, Go With Her, and a cover of Inez and Charlie Fox's Mockingbird, which he recorded as a duet with his daughter, Crystal Keith. Stays in Mexico hit #3 on the country charts, while Mockingbird peaked at #27. Keith's last album with DreamWorks was Honky Tonk University, released in early 2005. The lead single, Honky Tonk You, reached #8, followed by As Good As I Once Was, which spent 6 weeks at #1, and Big Blue Note at #5. After the release of the latter, DreamWorks Records shut down. On August 31, 2005, Keith started a new label called Show Dog Nashville. The first album released under this label was his 2006 album, White Trash with Money, which was followed by the soundtrack for Broken Bridges. He also decided to part ways with Stroud as co-producer and chose Cannon's wife, Larry White, instead. The album featured 3 singles, Get Drunk and Be Somebody, A Little Too Late, and Crash Here Tonight. In 2007, he released Big Dog Daddy, where Keith took on the role of sole producer. The singles from this album included High Maintenance Woman, Love Me If You Can, and Get My Drink On. Notably, Love Me If You Can marked Keith's first #1 hit since As Good As I Once Was over 2 years earlier. Later in 2007, he also released a 2-disc Christmas album titled A Classic Christmas. In 2008, Keith wrapped up his biggest and baddest tour. On May 6, 2008, he put out 35 Biggest Hits, a 2-disc compilation that included most of his singles up to that point, along with a new track called She's a Hottie, which reached #13 on Billboard's Country Songs chart. Keith then released She Never Cried in Front of Me, which hit #1 in 2008. The album that came out after that, titled That Don't Make Me a Bad Guy, was released on October 28, 2008. This was followed by another #1 hit, God Lover, and the song Lost You Bullets in the Gun came out on October 5, 2010. Then on October 25, 2011, Clancy's Tavern was released. This album featured the single Made in America, which Keith co-wrote with Bobby Pinson and Scott Reeves, and it reached #1. Following that was Red Solo Cup, which had already been turned into a popular music video. In October 2014, Keith released Drunk Americans, the lead single from his 18th studio album, 35 mph Town. Then in April 2015, he released 35 mph Town, which is the title track and the second single from the album. In 2015, Keith was also inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. In 2021, Keith collaborated with Brantley Gilbert on the single The Worst Country Song of All Time, alongside Hardy. On January 13, 2021, President Trump honored Keith with the National Medal of Arts during a private ceremony where he was joined by fellow country artist Ricky Skaggs. On September 28, 2023, after being awarded the first Country Icon Award at the People's Choice Country Awards, Keith performed live for the first time since announcing his cancer diagnosis in June 2022. His rendition of Don't Let the Old Man In, which was featured in Clint Eastwood's 2018 movie The Mule, earned him a standing ovation. Keith's last performance took place in Las Vegas, Nevada, at the Park MGM on December 14, 2023. His final studio recording was part of Hicks Tape Volume 3, Diff Tape, a tribute to Joe Diffie where he teamed up with Luke Combs to cover Diffie's song, Ships That Don't Come In. In March 2024, just a month after his passing, it was revealed that Keith would be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame posthumously, having been elected only hours after he passed away. Keith showed up at the first Total Nonstop Action Wrestling Weekly pay-per-view on June 19, 2002, where his performance of Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue was cut short by Jeff Jarrett. Later, he entered the gauntlet for the gold main event and kicked Jarrett out of the match. The following week, on June 26, he helped Scott Hall beat Jarrett in a singles match. In 2009, Keith took part in the Comedy Central roast of Larry the Cable Guy, which was broadcast on March 14, 2009. On October 29, 2011, Keith was featured on Fox Channel's Huckabee, alongside former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. He performed Bullets in the Gun and joined Huckabee's house band for a song at the end of the show. In 2005, Keith launched Toby Keith's I Love This Bar and Grill in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. He also opened locations in Syracuse, New York, and Tulsa, Oklahoma. He later expanded to restaurants in Thackerville, Oklahoma, Auburn Hills, Michigan, Kansas City, Las Vegas, Mesa, Arizona, Peoria, Arizona, St. Louis Park, Minnesota, Foxborough, Massachusetts, Cincinnati, Ohio, Newport News, Virginia, and Denver, Colorado. Keith's journey in music and his various business projects have made him one of the richest stars in the U.S. The July 15, 2013 issue of Forbes magazine showcases Keith on the front cover with the title, Country Music's $500 Million Man. The article, called Cowboy Capitalist by Zach O'Malley Greenberg, also shares details about Keith's earnings as a musician throughout his career. For instance, he made $65 million in the last year alone, which is more than even famous artists like Jay-Z and Beyoncé. Additionally, he hasn't made less than $48 million a year for the last 5 years. Over the past 2 decades, Keith has written at least one country hit each year, and he has a partnership with his own label, Show Dog Universal and Big Machine Records, which he co-founded in 2005. On March 24, 1984, Keith tied the knot with Tricia Lucus. He is also a father to 3 kids, one of whom is Crystal Keith. Keith's dad, H.K. Kovville, tragically passed away when a charter bus crashed into his car on Interstate 35 on March 24, 2001. The Kovville family received $2,800,000 for his wrongful death on December 25, 2007. Elias and Pedro Rodriguez, who ran Rodriguez Transportes in Tulsa, along with the Republic Western Insurance Company, were held responsible because they didn't make sure the bus had properly functioning air brakes. Keith earned an honorary degree from Villanova University, where he studied from 1979 to 1980. He had aspirations of becoming a petroleum engineer. A huge fan of University of Oklahoma sports, Keith was frequently spotted at Oklahoma Sooners games and practices. He also loved professional wrestling, often seen in the front row at many WWE events in Oklahoma, and even performed courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue live at the very first TNA wrestling show on June 19, 2002. Additionally, he supported the Pittsburgh Steelers football team. He was a member of the Free Will Baptist Church. In 2004, Keith played a key role in establishing Allie's House, a cancer charity named in honor of Allison Webb, the late daughter of one of Keith's former bandmates. Sadly, Webb passed away just a month before her third birthday due to Wilms's tumor. In 2006, he started the Toby Keith Foundation to create housing for kids with cancer and their families. By late 2013, the foundation had built the OK Kids Corral, a place for young cancer patients from OU Medical Center to stay. Over the past 20 years, the annual Toby Keith and Friends Golf Classic has raised over $15 million for the OK Kids Corral. He told the Oklahoman in 2019 that this was his biggest achievement. In June 2022, Keith revealed that he was diagnosed with stomach cancer at the end of 2021 and had been going through chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery for the last 6 months. He mentioned in a December 2022 press release that his fight against cancer had been pretty debilitating. Sadly, Keith passed away in his sleep in Oklahoma on February 5, 2024, at the age of 62. After the news of Keith's passing, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt ordered that U.S. and Oklahoma flags on state property be flown at half-staff all day on February 6th until sunset the next day, as a sign of respect and mourning for the loss of the American music icon, Toby Keith. On February 10, 2024, the University of Oklahoma men's basketball team played against their rivals, Oklahoma State. To honor Keith, they gave out red Solo cups with any drink purchase inspired by his song Red Solo Cup. Videos of fans singing Red Solo Cup while raising their drinks were shared widely on social media after the game. Many fellow country artists and bands paid their respects, including Dolly Parton, Carrie Underwood, Jason Aldean, Old Dominion, Jelly Roll, Zach Bryan, John Rich, Chelly Wright, Lady A, Jake Owen, Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Cole Swindell, along with notable figures like First Lady Jill Biden, actor Stephen Baldwin, comedian Stephen Colbert, and radio and TV personality Bobby Bones. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.